So I think I'm recording. All right, so let's get going here. All right, so we're going through doing the components or states, and I'm going to go over here to this file right here so we can download this file. That file is opening and it's called exercise file zip. And we want to use, let me expand this. For Matcha Design, we're going to be getting into prototyping. We'll be going into this one next, but we'll work with components over here. So let's go to components and states. And let's look at how this works. So, gonna wait for Jesse to get back. So let's just take a look at a very simple looking button here. So we have a button which is a rectangle. You can see over here. We can see it has rounded corners, 20 pixels. What else is a part of this? There's a label right here, and it's the word button, right? And I can always hide it to make sure that I know exactly what this is. And then these others are over here. So we're interested in this one right over here. So there's basically two elements to this. There's just the type and there's the rectangle. I'm going to go over here and click Make Component. And actually, I'm not. I'm going to go back. Let me drag these out as copies. Well, let me pull this down, and let me now make this a component. Now, as I do that, I'm going to make copies here. So notice that when you create a component, it gets a solid green, I guess you would call it a square kind of on its end, like a diamond. And notice here that these are all diamonds. When I click on this one, notice it's white in the center. And these also are white in the center. When I click on this one, my first component, when I go over to my inspector, it says component main. When I go to my second, it says component instance, meaning that this is a child of this. This is the parent, this is the child. So as I make changes, let's say I change this to different words here. When I make changes to the components, these will basically update. So let's change the color of this rectangle. I have the rectangle, I'll change it to a purple. And this one, we've already changed the words, but let me just show you what happens here. Because this is the main component, if I make changes here, like if I take the rounding of the corners and I pull this out, notice that each one of the components changes with the main component. So components, if you use them in your designs, anytime that you make a change with your main component, all the children of that component change with it. If I change the color of this one, notice that these three changed colors because this one, notice this one has a little dot in the center of the diamond, meaning I made some changes here. These are being changed. Let me undo that first. So this one, if I changed the color earlier, right? And because of that, it's becoming independent. So when I click on this one and I go to the actual fill color here and change it, it changes all the children. But when I go over here on this particular instance, it's different because I changed its color independently. Now, notice when I right click, I get edit main component, reset to main component, reveal component in assets, fill bounds to content ungroup component. When you basically assign a component, it groups all the content. If I go here to reset to main state, notice it overrides the state that I just had right here. But I could go back in here and change this. Even so, now I'm changing it, and now it's going to act independent of this. But if I wanted to, I could say reset it. Reveal, here shows the component. I'm here in the libraries, and here's the component 79. And I could go over here and say reveal components and assets. This is saying component 79 because these are all the same, right? They're just knockoffs of this particular component. If I go back on this one, say edit main component, it goes back to my original component. So here I could make changes, right? I could move the type. Notice all the type moves with it because this is the main component. So I can make all these different changes. I can change the size of it. So this is a very useful way of copying and pasting, and adhering to specific appearance, settings, etc. Nesting and swapping, so nesting components. So if I go over here and select these and make this a component, and I go into repeat grid and I pull this out, these are all components here. So I have all these nested based components. And so if I make a change to any one of these, right? So if I move, this is based on here. This is my main component. So if I have to go one level up, you notice I can move this around because it's all nested. But just so you know, you can create a repeat grid using components. I should have done that over there. Doesn't matter. So let's go over to component states. Now this is real powerful. So this is a very useful area here, component states. Right here we just have a container. Let's look at its contents. It's just a white rectangle. It has a border of 1, but it has a fill of white. So within this container, we can start to build out component states. So let's go through the process of doing this. Firstly, I have to make this a component. And notice I get component main, I get default states here. So here I can start setting my different states. So let me go ahead and click the plus button to create a new state. So we'll just call this state, well, let's just call it leaf 01. And let's go through and start the process here. So double click to go into the icon background, and basically I want to copy this, so I should do that first. Copy, go into the component, click on it, and edit, paste, and then drag it's kind of a weird process, but and now drag this onto your artboard here, or your component, I should say. And I'll just move it over a little bit. When I go to my component now, and I look at my my state here, I have leaf 1. So let's go and create another state, new state, and we'll call it leaf 02. And let's go over here. Let's copy this. Let's go over here to the component, double click to get into the component. And we want to paste this onto the component and drag it onto the component. And what we have to make sure we're doing is when I go back to the component, that leaf 2 doesn't have this on its background, which is leaf 1. So I'm going to go in here and delete that. so that we only have leaf 2. So let's look at what we have. Leaf 1, leaf 2. Let's create a leaf 3, a new state, leaf 03. Double click to get into the component. Go over here and copy. Should always do that first. Double click, go into the component, paste, drag this onto the component, go into the component state, leaf 3, and get rid of this, basically the leaf 2. So now what I've set up in this component are different states, 1, 2, 3. So now I could go through and define these different qualities later. So a component allows you to create different states, and you can assign those states through prototyping. So let's get into prototyping. So we need to open up the Matcha Prototype 4.5 before XD. All right, let's just set up very simple, basic buttons here. So, okay, here I am. I click on the button, right? I can see that this is a component. I look over here. I have 2 different states for this component. Let me zoom in. This button is a component. I can go over and see that by clicking over here and saying reveal component in assets. And it shows states button padded. There's a hover state and a disable state and a default state. So I have 3 different states for this. As I zoom out, let's go into prototyping. I'm in prototyping. Notice that I have this selected. It's giving us a button, and now I can drag this I see. We have a hover state. So let's take a look at that. We have a hover state, which is a trigger for this button. Now, and we get to see it's a transition hover state dissolve. 0.03 seconds, ease in out. So that's going to be a hover state. When I go and click and drag, now I can set the button property to go to this artboard. And basically I can say tap, transition, going to artboard preparing. So let's run it and see what it looks like. So let me click on the right artboard here and prototype. And when I go over, notice when I roll over, it's doing the hover states. And when I click on it, it takes me to this preparing page. Back, I'm hitting my arrow key left, click, and it takes me there. So that's the power of prototyping. Let's get into it more. Previous. Let's click over here on this artboard. Let's drill down and click up here. What we want is this button to take us back. So all I do is click and hold and drag this over. Now I can set up I have a tap transition going home. So now when I launch and I go here and I go to preparation and I click back, it takes me back. So I just have basically a simple interaction going over here. I have the hover state, and you can just click on these little interactions to bring up what you have here. So that's a very simple going from one artboard to the other. Okay, overlays. So that's just basic wiring. Overlays. So the idea is to create this. Let me move it over. It's kind of tight. To create this appearance of an overlay menu, we want this menu to show up when we click on this menu icon. So when I click over here on this icon, I want this to go all the way over to the right. It's kind of a lot of artboards here. What we want is a tap, but we don't want is a transition. What we want is an overlay. And it's going to the overlay menu. It creates a dotted line. I can set up animations. In this case, I'll have it slide down. So when I click on here, this will come onto the screen. So let's go ahead and preview it. When I click, it pops down onto the screen. Now, the interesting thing about creating overlays, anytime I click off the screen, it'll go away. So it goes down, it goes up, goes down, goes up. So that works very well. So let's go through, let's build this out. So we have this icon right here is going over here. So this hamburger icon, I can go over here and copy it and then double click and paste the interaction, and that interaction now goes to the overlay. I'll do that for all of them. And now one more, paste interaction. So now each one of these is going over to the overlay. I can move and change. Well, let's take a look at this first, because you're like, well, how's this working? Well, if I go to design and I look at this artboard is transparent. When I click on it, it's 0%. It doesn't matter what color it is. So nothing's going to show up because it's transparent except for this. And I could move this down. And when I click over here and I preview it, when I click, notice it sits further down on the page. So I could say, well, I want it back where it was. I'll undo that. And so that it fits directly exactly right here. It does appear to have a border. So let's take that off. Let's zoom in and see what we have here. Let's go into our layers, states menu. We have a background, which has a drop shadow. So I'm turning that off. I have align states, and that's fine. So I'm turning that off so that this can look a little bit seamless. So when I click and I interact and I click, now it's just a white screen coming down, and that looks good. And then again, I click off. But now, let's see here, does preparation work? No. So we have to build this out. So let's click this button. Let's go into prototyping. Let's go into this button, have it just go here. Notice it remembers what we did last. So I don't want overlay. I just want to transition from this page to this page. And I don't want slide down. I'll just do a dissolve or none. So now it should go from here to here. But what about creating links over here? Let's do it. So let's go over here to preparation. I double click. I go into the actual group here, and I drag this out to preparing. I go over here to FAQs. I click and drag to FAQ. I click down here to contact and put this over here. It's kind of weird, but it's not really contact us. It's pre-order. So let me double click and write pre-order. And it should work now. So let's click and it's launch, and let's go over here to preparation, FAQs, pre-order, and then I didn't put the home in there. So I have to go back into home and go home. And now I have it properly wired to take me everywhere I want to go. You can scroll up and down. I can go to pre-order. I can scroll up and down. Notice that pre-order is, we'll take a look at this a little more deeply. If I click here, let's see here. I thought this was wired up, but I guess it's not. Preparation, up and down. FAQs, up, down. Pre-order, up, down. Home. And, I notice as I go through here that my menu, if I want it to be sticky, I should go through and do that. So let's go click on this. And what we want this is to, let's click here. Let me move this over. I want this to be fixed position when scrolling. I want this to be fixed position, fixed position, fixed position. So let's go back to prototype and click and launch. And now this should be fixed. So now when I scroll, I still have my nav bar logo and name of the business at the top. Click, go to preparation, scroll. Everything is working beautifully. FAQs, pre-order. So, a really simple, wonderful way of working using just prototyping. And I have preparation, which takes me over there. So you can see you can create all these different interactions using prototyping. So let me zip out here. We basically did this, so we already set up our hyperlinks. Let me open up the other after, and let's just see how this differs when we go to overlays and go here to prototype launch. Let's just see how this works. You can see it's brought down a little bit. It's got a different interaction in that this is sliding left. So let's see what hyperlinks looks like on this one. I guess, where's the hyperlink? I don't see any hyperlinks. Okay, well, this is supposed to be after. This looks correct. Okay, so let's build that out. So after, we want before. Okay, this is scroll to. All right. Let's take a look at setting up scroll tos. So we have this bar up here of top, products, recipes. Here's the products. Here are the recipes. So let's wire this up so that we have a scroll to on the same page. So when I go here to products, what I want this to do is go down here to the Matcha Goodness products right over here. And what we're going to do is set up a tap scroll to destination matcha products right here. Notice I have all these different areas that I could scroll to. We're going to matcha products. We're going to go here to recipes and go down. Let me scroll down here and move this down to recipes. Let's test it out. And products, good. Recipes, good. So now I'm creating scroll to on the same page. Now what about top? Let's have this go to the top. And you'll notice that it's going to nav mobile top. And nav mobile top is right here. That's this whole area. So now I should have it wired correctly. So I go here to products, but we need to do what we did before in our design phase, which is connect, fix position when scrolling. Now go to interactions, click products. Oh, I got to do this. I got to get this to be sitting. So I want this to be fixed position when scrolling. Prototype, launch, products, recipes, top. So within your page, you can create all these different interactions. So that could be a very powerful thing to do when you're working with the scroll to. Scroll position. So let's go to scroll position here. Let me go over to the other after. Let's see if they have this set up, so, because this is a little bit more complicated. Let's just walk through this. So each one of these, when we go to this button and look at it, it has a hover state and it has an auto animate destination hover state. Then when you click on it, a tap function, the tap function goes to transition, scroll back, position back, dissolve. So if I just click off of this, click on the page, I can see all my interactions. They're all wired right here. Also, this page takes me back. So when I go to this button, notice that it takes me back as a tap function, but it also has a hover function, trigger hover, and it's going to be an auto animate to the destination hover state. So let's launch this and take a look at it. So when I go here to proceed, notice it takes me to the next page. So what's happening is it gives the appearance of interactivity here. Proceed, and notice that this changes a little bit. So everything is remaining nice and static. Let me go here. I scrolled all the way to the bottom, and when I click, it's pretty seamless. I notice it's off by 1 pixel. When I go over here to middle, when I go over here to top, it's working by taking me over from this page to this page, and giving the impression that you're having really interesting hover states, right? So it has a hover, right? Because when I go here to top and I roll over, it has a hover state. It also has an interaction as I click on it, and then another interaction going back. So this is a interesting way of creating the semblance of interactivity, but it's really just going back and forth. Let's see, let me go back here. Let's see what else goes on this page. Let's go over here to the pre-order page and look at all the different interactions here. So the this text box, Susie Tea Lover, has a tap function, auto animate, go to destination filled. So there's if I go in my assets, and let's see here, where is filled? Let's go to X, and I should go this way. And states fly out. I'm just looking at all these different library items, assets. And here we go. So here are some of the blocks, text benefits. and these different states. Here's the sign up button. Okay, so again, as we go through and look at all these different examples, here's here's the email, and we look at this function for email. Goes to the filled, which is over here. And so let's launch this and take a look at it. So as I go through and I scroll up and I click, it's taking me to a filled text box from over here. And when I click over here, the same thing. When I click here, it takes me to the password. When I click here, and when I click here, sign up, it's going to take me to a page where it should blur out. And it blurs out the background. Thank you for your submission. We'll get back to you shortly. When I click on dismiss, it takes me back to the sign up page and resets. So again, when I click, these appear like they're filling in, but they're all interactions, right? So let's zoom in and look at this more closely. Filled. Auto animate here, we have a filled. Over here, we have a filled. Over here, we have filled. Over here, we have auto animate selected. And you'll notice all these different items over here, right? So it's going over to selected, which is in here somewhere. Selected, right. And sign up is set to hover state, and it takes you to a transition to this page. And dismiss jumps you back to this page. Let us go to make component, edit component. Very good. And let's take a look at our assets here. Text benefits, text subhead, mobile top lock, top nav, label breakpoint, states menu flyout. All right, so that pretty well covers scroll position. So these examples, anytime that you're working, you can go between the before and after to learn how to create these things. I mean, you could virtually copy and paste into your designs if you wanted to. So there's before, after for all these, which went through basically all these ideas of working with design techniques. And then working with prototyping. And we just covered all these different areas over here. So let's continue into Auto Animate. Okay, this gets a little more complicated. Let's jump into this. So I'm going to copy this over. And I'm going to create some auto animation here. So I'm going to have this go to here, and I'm going to set this to auto animate. And actually I want, is this a drag function? No. And here's the thing. If this image right here, image citrus matcha, equals this image over here, which is image citrus matcha, you can do all kinds of cool things with auto animate. So, for instance, I could go over here to this image. Let's see here. And go back into design, and let's just pull this open and pull it down a little bit. Grab this type and move it all. Whoops. And let's see here. I've got my prototype of, let's try it and see what it looks like. Actually, I haven't done the tap. Is it? Yes, it is tap. Okay, so launch, tap. Notice it gives me the auto animate feature. Let me go back. Very simple. Click auto animate. It's taken the small image and created a larger image. That's very useful for lots of reasons. Let's go over here to drag. This is again using auto animate. Let's see here. So, let's just see how this is built. Let's see if it works actually. So this is set up for just a tap function, I believe. Oh. So there's your auto animate, right? And the auto animate is going from this here as a tap auto animate to T detail. You'll notice that this is much larger. Look at the type. It's way over here on the left. This is centered. The price on the left. So let's look at that again. When I click, notice that everything moves. It's animating on the page. Okay, let's go through and create a drag function. If I go here to the after event of the drag and zoom in and make sure I'm in prototype, let's look at this and see how this works. Notice I've got a hand here. As I click, I can drag these up, and I can drag, and that's also a click. So let me try it again. Drag, drag. It's supposed to drag back. Drag up, drag back. It doesn't have the drag back on it. So let's take a look and see how this is performed. And so here, there's this image sitting right here on the side with a drag function here. Auto animate, go to drag T2 over here. So we have two different kinds of interactions occurring here. We have a tap taking you to this page and a drag going to this page. So let's click on this image and set a drag function going back. And we have it on tap. We want to drag, auto animate, drag T1, and let's launch. So as I drag, I can go over here. As I drag, I can go back here. So auto animate is very cool in how it functions. It really is a wonderful thing. I can also click to go to this page right over here. So again, let's go back and start. I click, and let's see if these are functioning. They are. So I have what looks to be like a real-time interaction. And this is what I'd like to see in your work, right? And I can move this back. It looks like my menu's working. So I go here to, it's not set up for the hyperlinks actually. So I could build that out too, right? So I could say, wait a second, why isn't this working? It appears as we look at this that each one of these has on tap previous artboard, which is kind of interesting. This one, previous artboard. So let's see how that is actually functioning. As I click and go to this function here, if I go and I click on here and I click on any one of these, I suppose it's going to go back to, well, it should, I thought it was going to take me back to the previous artboard. Doesn't seem to be doing that. But what we want to wire is we want this to go to the this one is preparation. I don't really see a preparation here, but if we wanted to, we could go further up. I could say we could go to here. These are the preparation pages, right? And I could say I'll copy this, and I could say let's paste that, and I could have this go to my preparation, go over here to this artboard. So now when I wire this up and I click here, I have my drag functions, and I can drag back, and I can go over here. I can go to my preparation. For some reason it didn't show up. Should work. Oh, I had it set to drag. Why is that? Gotta zoom in and see what's going on here. Drag. I don't want a trigger of drag. So this is wrong. Let me delete that, this previous artboard, and let's just go here. Now it should work. So I have my drag functionality, I have preparation. Why isn't this working? Have this wired correctly. For some reason, look at that. It keeps putting on a drag function. When I go over here, it keeps making it a drag. Now, that is not correct. Let's get rid of all these. What is this? Oh, this is a tap function going to previous artboards. So that's what's happening. We want preparation to go here. Let's just play around and say FAQs go here and contact us goes here. And now let's test it out. Everything seems to be stuck. I can't get out of this. Let me revert. Let's take a look at this. This tap goes here. This, we all know that that dotted line equals overlay. And this is a previous artboard on a tap. Basically anything that you do here. This would just have to be rewired. I would have to just build it out again. So anyway, remember we have that drag function here. We can also set the drag function here back. So drag, auto animate back. We could do this too. We could keep building this out. We could have this go to here. And then we could have this go back here. And I guess that's as far as we'd want to go. And so now we should have drag functioning. Drag up, drag back, drag up, drag up, drag back, drag up, and then that's it. I didn't go any further than that. So very useful. Drag interactions are a really nice way of creating basically a carousel slideshow, right? So video interactions. Yeah, I guess we'll cover this. So let's take a look at what we have here. So this is pretty simple. We have a button taking us to tap to this page. This is a video. We have a couple interactions here. On tap, here it's going to take us to auto animate to this page. So it's going to go and make it larger, but it's going to animate the video box. And then there's another function here. And there's this. This is the function of video playback. And then we have this button here is an auto animate expand button, basically. So let's test this. Prepare, okay. And then I can either click here and play the video, which it's doing, right? There's a video. When I click here, it's gonna auto animate. It'll get rid of this and it'll just pull this box real big on the page. And I can scroll up on the page. So let's go back, play the video, click, expand the video. So it's doing it, and here's a back button. Notice this is also a states button. Let's look at that. So when I click on this one and I look, it's going to this page. It's a default state as a component. It's default. When I click on this one, it's on the collapse state. So when we look at this component right here, let me zoom in on it. This component, let's see here. Let's go into, I'm sorry, you always have to go back into design. And so when I click on this component, I notice that there's two states, a default state and a collapse state. So there's two different, so components are very useful because when you get into prototyping, now I have that functionality as I go through and click on this. Wait a second, where am I? I have a trigger. It's not supposed to be drag, it's supposed to be tapped. Something happened when I did that. And then that takes me over here to this enlarged. So anytime that you auto animate, right? So when I go through, now I've lost my interaction. Let me go back here, revert to saved. Doggone it. Stop it. When I click here, I have the auto animate going over here, and I also have my component, and I can allow for different states. And this state is collapse, this state is default state. Let's do some, last thing I'm gonna do today is voice. You might find this useful. We'll go through and build this. So here we go. The ability to go into your prototyping, create interactions. Notice that the trigger, we have tap, drag, time, and voice. Here I have a command, Alexa, open Matcha Goodness. Transition, voice recipes, dissolve. So when I go here and launch, when I go here, hold down the space bar while speaking to use voice commands. Matcha, okay, I have to allow the microphone. Alexa, open Matcha Goodness. Here, let me turn the volume up. Alexa, search for matcha smoothies. Alexa, show me vanilla smoothie.
This slightly sweet matcha smoothie is made with vanilla and almond milk. It's a healthy, antioxidant-filled breakfast or great afternoon pick-me-up.
How did that happen? Well, all these simple interactions allowed that to happen. So, as I go through and look at these different interactions, voice-based interactions, they're based right over here. These are just artboards, right? Okay, this one we look at, this is a time trigger set to 0 seconds, going to speech playback. Notice we have transition, auto animate, hyperlink, overlay previous audio play. We've basically done all these. This is a speech playback, and you have different voices that you can use. Joanna, Joey, Justin, Matthew, Ivy. Let's try Sally. And the speech is welcome to Matcha Goodness. Let's go over to this artboard. So as we look at this, this artboard, when I click and look at this, it's a transition with the voice smoothie. It's going to voice smoothies, and it's also setting a time trigger of 0 seconds. So again, search for matcha smoothies. Here's the command in the upper right. And immediately upon that, it's going to, based on speech playback, Sally, over here it's voice smoothies. So I go, click voice begin. I hold the space bar down. Alexa, open Matcha Goodness. Alexa, open Matcha Goodness. I don't understand. I may have screwed something up, so let me go back to my reverted. When I'm playing around, I don't, sometimes I hit certain things. So let's go back here and into my prototype and launch. Alexa, open Matcha Goodness.
Welcome to Matcha Goodness.
Alexa, search for matcha smoothies. Alexa, show me vanilla smoothie.
This slightly sweet matcha smoothie is made with vanilla and almond milk. It's a healthy, antioxidant-filled breakfast or great afternoon pick-me-up.
So, here we have this interaction. Zoom in on this. And it looks like there's even more interactions here with the individual images that take you to different areas. This is a voice-based Alexa, go back. So let's go ahead, let's try this again. Alexa, open Matcha Goodness.
Welcome to Matcha Goodness.
Alexa, search for matcha smoothies. And then, let's see here. There's no interactivity here. Alexa, show me vanilla smoothie.
This slightly sweet matcha smoothie is made with vanilla and almond milk. It's a healthy, antioxidant-filled breakfast or great afternoon pick-me-up.
Alexa, show recipe. Alexa, show me vanilla smoothie.
This slightly sweet matcha smoothie
Go
is made
back.
with vanilla and almond.
So it has interesting functionality as you go through here. I was kind of curious, all these different interactions here, voice, destination, voice smoothie. I'm just looking at this. Here's a voice previous artboard. And here's the voice interaction, destination. Alexa, show me vanilla smoothie. Oh. Here's the recipes. I think you get the general idea. So, that I don't really want to get into the keyboard keypad, but that's just another way of creating interactions here. The lot of interactions I don't think are necessary, but I do think your basic wireframing, your overlays, hyperlink, scroll to, scroll position, auto animate, drag interaction, and video interactions could be very powerful. I went over voice just because, it might be something that you want to employ. So I think you have a lot of good, interesting material here. Also, let's not forget about components and the power of using components. So as we go through, and we've covered all these different areas, you have the files. Matcha Design before, and you have Matcha Design after, and you have Matcha Prototype before, Matcha Prototype after. These are kind of self-explanatory as you work with them. So use these as reference as you build your site out. The one thing that I thought is kind of interesting is setting up timing, and setting up a time. Let's just go. This will be the last thing that I do here. This is a drag function. Here's a tap function. But notice that with here, you can set up, let's see here, on this button, trigger, tap, drag, voice. Where was the time? I think we had time set up down here. It was probably this one right here. So this is a time trigger. So this time trigger allows you to set your delay, and then you can set up an action for where to go. You have all the above, all these things that we've been using. So sometimes time delays work really well. The other, last thing that I'd like to go over here is these XD tutorials. And getting started with XD, prototyping. You have a lot of different things here that you can look at. This also explains what I did today. So you can go in and work with that. And there's getting started with your wireframes. There's all these exercise files you can download. You can get into the prototyping, the wiring, the auto animates. For instance,
Auto-animate transitions allow you to create simple yet powerful micro-interactions between objects or states of objects.
I'll just
The
kind
way
of,
that it's implemented in XD Design Canvas, you'll notice it's sort of ghosted out and it's outside files. So I'll come in and zoom a little bit more tightly on this, I'll zoom in, but notice.
so again, creating a carousel slideshow using auto animate. So you should be looking at all these outside of class time, learning about all this interactivity, using all these different techniques through prototyping.